So, good morning, afternoon, and evening, everybody. Welcome to this webinar for VVBs and Auditors on Gold Standard's recent updates on fNRB and core carbon principles labeling requirements. Thank you so much for joining. We're very happy to see you, to see the number of attendees growing. My name is Anna Collitore. I'm the Senior Officer in the Oversight team at Gold Standard. And today with me, I have very nice colleagues. You know some of them, many of them, I guess, by now. We have, of course, Giovanna, our manager in the Oversight team. Jacobo Carisales, our manager for climate impact in the Pacific Alliance region and also standard expert. And we have also Natasha Kalanda, our manager, standard development and innovation. And also in the background a little bit today to help with questions, we have Udita and Vikash as well. So we're very happy to be able to deliver this session to you today, just to give you some insights on these recent updates that we communicated on the 24th of April, now 2 months ago, in our newsletter. These updates were mostly about fNRB and core carbon principle labeling requirements. Also on the 20th of May, our growth team at Gold Standard has hosted a webinar on the same topic, which was aimed at project developers. I know some of you joined, so that's also nice. But today, what we will do, we will revisit the same updates, but we will focus more more on the role of VVBs and auditors. So how to comply with these changes and what to look out for. If you're interested in the webinar for project developers, by the way, I can post the link in the Q&A box soon, so you can also catch up with that one. As usual, before I start, I'd like to mention a couple of house rules. This session is being recorded, and I will be sharing the recording after the session. As usual, I'll be sending you an email a few days after the session. And if you have any questions, please use the Q&A box. We will have a Q&A as well at the end, where you will be able as well, you can raise your hand and you can ask on anything if we have more time. And before we start, we dive into the topic, I'd like to also take a few minutes for a short icebreaker. As usual, we're very curious to know where our participants are joining from. But today we're also interested to know how familiar you are with the fNRB requirements and also with CCP labeling requirements. So I'll be launching the poll. You can also scan the QR code here that you can see here on the screen, but I can also launch the poll directly to you now that it will appear on your screen. Okay, I see a couple of answers coming in already. See India very big in the middle. Delhi, Pune. Okay, we have somebody from Germany. Okay, Beijing, nice. Okay, nice to see. You made it to join us, although despite a little bit of time, it's a bit late for you, I guess. So, yeah, thank you so much for letting us know. Please feel free to keep adding your answers. Just to move forward to the next one, how familiar you are. I can see it's most of you are quite familiar with the topic with fNRB. It's very nice to see it's almost a 4. 3.5, and let's look at CCP labeling requirements. Okay, this is a little bit less familiar, almost a full 3. So thank you all so much for submitting your answers. Hopefully we can give you a bit more clarification in the session. Before I go to the agenda, I'd like to let you know a little bit why are we here. Basically, why are we here today? What are we trying to do? What do we want to achieve with this session? Basically, today you'll be learning about the recent updates related to fNRB requirements and methodologies, but also the CCP labeling. Understand the role of VVB, so your roles in validating and verifying compliance with these new rules. Including also we'll be talking to you about some practical steps as well. And then at the end, we'll also be talking about how gold standard is aligning with Article 6 requirements. And a little bit more in detail how the session is gonna turn out. Basically, Natasha will be introducing to us the updates to the fNRB requirements and methodologies. So she'll be talking about the tools and methods and the GS updates. Jacobo, after that, will be talking about the CCP labeling. So he will tell us a bit more about these new optional requirements and what are the eligible methodologies that can apply. And then he will also let us know, talk about some practical steps or takeaways that will be hopefully helpful for you guys. And Giovanna will be also then presenting us some slides about the alignment between gold standard and Article 6. Then we will have some time for questions, and then at the end we will close with a little recap of what we've said and also a feedback form for you. Great. I'll stop talking now, and I'll be giving the word to Natasha. So please, Natasha, take it away.
Thank you so much, Anna, and thank you everybody for joining. I'm so happy to be talking about this today and getting to hear your feedback. So moving forwards to the next slide on fNRB updates. Okay, so this slide, we just wanted to reiterate or reintroduce the definition or the concept of fNRB, which, judging by the poll we just took, we are all pretty familiar. So this is just to recap that fNRB represents a portion of, or the proportion of biomass that's harvested unsustainably in a given area. We all know that this is a complex model and it is based on context, on data and methodologies available at any given time. So just a brief overview of what we're talking about. Thank you. Next slide, please. So here I'll move a little bit slower because we wanted to see where are we today. I hope I'm audible for everybody. So the current status, tools and methods that are applicable for fNRB, we have the famous CDM 230, which gold standard methodologies have subscribed to, at least until the recent changes occurred, which has been project specific, country and region specific. And in terms of just what is valid as of today, we know that UNFCCC, the CDM Math Panel, have approved the continuation of use of CDM 230 until the end of the year. So from January 1st, 2026, this tool will be discontinued as far as CDM methodology panel is concerned. In terms of future alternatives here, there's an invitation for replacement methodology on this, for which the UNFCCC has invited submissions from stakeholders. And then we have the more recent CDM 233, which as of this month has faced a number of updates. So we know that the CDM Executive Board in its 125th meeting this month approved the use of default values, which are at the regional and the national levels. So these have now been publicized and they're available for use under CDM 233. And I think that's the most important thing to mention here. Of course, PDs are welcome to propose their own values with transparent data and justification following appropriate CDM procedures. Then we have the modeling fuel wood saving scenario, or commonly referred to as MOFAS model, which is the parent default value carrier, I would say in my own words, which is providing the default values from which also CDM 233 has borrowed from. So this is currently the primary source for fNRB default value guidance that is available today. So that is where we are in terms of tools and methods in the current status. Let's see what's next. Next slide. So now the reason we are here today is to reintroduce this rule update that the GS4GG published, as Anna mentioned, in July. So what is important to note here is that this rule update will apply to all project activity design. So whether it is a standalone project, program of activity, voluntary project activities, this rule update applies to all the design types that we have for projects. And it supersedes all previous GS4GG requirements regarding fNRB application. So this means that it supersedes requirements from methodologies, from tools, from any requirements that has been providing guidance on fNRB in the past. So this will be the guidelines moving forward. And the rule update link has been provided here just for reference in case anybody wants to take a deep dive into it. Next slide. So this is the linchpin of my presentation because the dates that have been provided here will determine the audit methods that you're going to use or what you're going to check for as auditors in terms of this fNRB approach that project developers will follow. So April 24th, 2025 is when the gold standard published this new fNRB rules and requirements. And by publishing, that means also it's the date that the fNRB requirements updates came into effect. And everything else under April 24th is repeated from the previous slide, what I've just mentioned. Now, the key here is June 30th date and the December 31st date. So the June 30th date will apply to what we're calling new projects or projects that are requesting for design certification or crediting period renewal or VPA inclusion up to the date of June 30th, 2025. So if a project will be submitting their project for this kind of certification post the June 30th date this year, then they are required to follow the requirements under the fNRB updates, meaning the way in which fNRB is established will follow the fNRB update requirements. Anything before the June 30th date, it means that 230 would still be applicable for such projects. So optionally, project developers may choose to apply the new eligible methods before this deadline for these requests. Now, coming to the December 31st date, now this applies to design certified projects that whose monitoring period date that is within or before 31st December 2025 or 1st of January 2026. So monitoring periods ending 31st December 2025, projects can still continue to apply CDM 230 as per existing methodologies, and they will be verified accordingly. However, projects that are presenting monitoring periods after 31st December 2025 will now be required to follow the new requirements for fNRB determination, and 230 will no longer be applicable for such projects. And I will still introduce this caveat that project developers have the option of updating their fNRB approach using the latest requirements by GS even before this December 31st, 2025 date is reached. So that option is available for project developers. Next slide. Next slide, please. So in summary, and this you'll find in the fNRB update, we are talking about the eligible methods. Like I mentioned, we have the MOFAS, modeling fuel load saving scenario derived values. PDs can apply updated to 33 default values approved by UNFCCC or revised to 30 under the Paris Agreement or Article 6.4. And a new method developed for fNRB calculations under Article 6.4 approved by the gold standard. So very importantly as well, project developers can update their chosen method later via the design change process, which again, you as the VVBs, of course, will be heavily involved in this design change process. That is it from me. I will take this now to Jacobo, carry it forward. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Natasha. We're going to talk today about updates and core carbon principles labeling. So if you can move to the next slide, please. Thanks. Well, the first thing I have to say is we have recently published this optional requirement for those interested in applying the CCP labeling. And this document basically outlines all requirements for CCP labeling for standalone projects, program of activities, as well as voluntary project activities. Of course, you can have a look at the document in our website. Is available for consultation. Could you move to the next one, please? We're going to focus very briefly in this document, and we are going to talk about the first scope and applicability. The scope of this document covers basically all the gold standard fares issued in first place to a project that is applying the methodology version which has been approved by the ICVCM. The CCP and the core carbon principles are run by the ICVCM, and gold standard is willing and happy to label these GVARs as long as these GVARs fulfill the requirements. And of course, it also covers as a scope the GVARs also that are going to be issued to a project retroactively when this project is using an updated version of the methodology, and this methodology has been approved by the ICVCM. As for the applicability, basically projects have to fulfill and have to demonstrate full fulfillment of all requirements of the methodology. And again, this methodology has to be approved by the ICVCM. Can we move to the next one, please? Thanks. But how does this happen? What's the procedure for projects interested in having the CCP labeling, and what's the role of the VVBs, which is the main focus of this session? I guess the first question we need to ask ourselves as a project, and then as a VVB as well, is a design change required? In case it is, well, there is a series of requirements, and any additional requirement coming from gold standard ICVCM in terms of the approved methodology published. And of course, projects have to fulfill these kind of requirements, and the procedure goes through the design change request before any kind of CCP labeling. But if this is not the case and there is no design change required, projects shall follow the procedure of the CCP labeling by submitting the form request submission for CCP. This form is also available in our website for those who are interested in having a look at the form. So again, we can go through design change or not. It will depend on the characteristics of the project and if the project is applying an ICVCM approved methodology, or if it's not, or if there is an updated version of the methodology. Could we move to the next one, please? So as for the procedure, when the design change is required and there is a methodology switch, all projects that change from one methodology which is not approved by the ICVCM to an approved ICVCM methodology will have to demonstrate full compliance with every single requirement of the methodology and follow the procedure of design change. So again, it goes back to the question, is a design change required or not? And the procedure will change accordingly to the answer. Can we move to the next one, please? Great. Since the focus of this presentation is to provide tools to VVBs, we decided to ask a question to ourselves. And what could be the key elements that VVBs have to take into account when a CCP labeling request is on the way, and what's the VVB role? First, what we would expect from VVB is to review, and of course the project is to review all changes and updates in the project description document. Every single change, every of the project has to be visible in the PD. Of course, for program of activities or voluntary program of activities, every update on the applicability and on the applicability conditions of the methodology has to be also updated. And of course, for new VPAs, all criteria involved, if necessary, has to change. It has to be visible in the PDs, and it has to be visible as a criteria. There is also as well the need for demonstration updates in the demonstration of additionality. Sometimes it's required, sometimes it's not, but then the VVB has to make sure if this is required or not, and if it's required, how this additionality demonstration has been updated. In some cases as well, it might be necessary to reassess the baseline scenario. Again, sometimes it's applicable, sometimes not, and it is expected this condition to be fulfilled. Of course, if there is a need of updates in demonstration of additionality and the updating of the baseline scenario, it might be necessary to recalculate greenhouse gas emissions calculated ex ante, and all these updates have to be visible in the PD and of course all the supporting files. And lastly, it's very likely if there are changes in the methodology, updates in the methodology, or changes in the version of the methodology used, it might be necessary to also update the monitoring plan and give new provisions accordingly to the methodology requirements. Everything in the context of approved ICVCM methodologies. Can we move to the next one, please? Speaking of which, the methodologies currently approved by the ICVCM are described in this slide. We have currently 5 approved methodologies. So those projects asking for CCP labeling, either through the design change route procedure or just directly, are using one of these 5 methodologies. We're expecting more methodologies to be approved. So far, we have these 5 options approved, and every single project requesting CCP labeling will go through these methodologies. I guess this is it for the CCP labeling part, but can you move to the next one, please? Again, this session aims to provide practical tools and to promote the discussion on how the requirements are taken and assessed. In this sense, can we move to the next one, please? We would like to call attention of all of you on what's the role of the VVBs and what we expect from VVBs up to these changes on CCP labeling and the main subject, the main topic of this presentation, fNRB. When we talk about the assessment of VVBs, we understand there is an early validation or verification team presentation, and we consider is very important to be familiar with rule updates. So again, the purpose of this session is to provide tools to VVBs, including to remind updates and to bring discussion on these updates. So the first thing we would expect you to do is to familiarize with the updates, and this is a very, very rapidly changing world and environment, so updates are very important to bear in mind before performing any kind of assessment. Of course, there is always good to strengthen the experience and expertise in fNRB and CCP labeling requirements, so we extend an invitation to all of you to have a look at the documents available in our website. In very specific parts of the validation or verification process, when we're talking about validation, we need to make sure what's the methodology which has been approved and what's the version which has been approved. Sometimes projects will change version as part of the normal project cycle, and this will allow, in the case of CCP Labeling, to access the labeling of in the context of core carbon principles. There is always a need on the validation stage to review, to assess the monitoring plan, and to understand if this is in line with the requirements of the methodology. And of course, additionality. If you remember, this is one of our core principles and requirements, and this is very important at the stage of validation, especially with all these changes recently. And is a good time to remind you all, we have a new standard, well, not so new, but recently published, specifically focusing on additionality. So we're all invited to have a look at the document. As for the verification stage, again, if the design change is the route taken by projects, of course there is a need to focus more in the monitoring plan and all the changes coming from this monitoring plan. There is also as well the need to ensure there is an adequate adoption and usage of the fNRB values depending on the project location and project characteristics. Natasha was very kind to point there are new fNR values applicable at the national or regional levels. And of course, if all the requirements for CCP labeling are fulfilled. There is also the need to validate the design changes when this route is taken by projects. And lastly, we need to assure there is a robust monitoring report review. That would be all from my side. And then it's over to you, Anna. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Jacobo. I'll give the word to Joanna now.
Thank you so much, everyone. Yes, good afternoon from my side. I'm going to be presenting to you the Article 6 alignment. And before we jump in, as we all know, this alignment is crucial, of course, for ensuring that our methodologies and processes remain consistent with the latest decisions adopted at the COP29 under the UNFCCC framework. So just a reminder. Next slide, please, Anna. So the first update is on the requirements for methodology development. So the methodologies developed under the GS4GG will be aligned with the Paris Agreement. So in this way, we ensure compatibility with Article 6. And what this alignment brings to us first reinforces adherence to the Article 6.4 rules, modalities, and procedures. Also facilitates participation in international cooperative approaches under the Article 6.2. Also supports host countries in achieving their NDCs while safeguarding environmental integrity. And last but not least, at the heart of our updated document, we have here the 15 core principles, which are following the Article 6 and Article 6.4 rules, modalities, and procedures. Important to mention here is that this document offers comprehensive guidance on core methodological elements, and this includes baseline settings, additionality demonstration, and implementing rigorous monitoring, reporting, and verification processes, of course, to uphold data accuracy and transparency. Important to mention here is this updated document, the entry into force, will take effect on the 1st of July 2025. And for existing projects, this will have they will have until 1st of January 2026 for the transition to the updated methodologies. And in this way, we ensure, of course, a smooth adaptation process. Next slide, please. The next updated requirement is our requirement for additionality demonstration. So as we all know, to maintain the integrity and impact of climate mitigation projects, this is the way Gold Standard has introduced these updated requirements. And here we focused on two main or critical aspects. This document. So the first one is that all projects must demonstrate a clear and measurable additional impacts beyond what would have happened or occurred under the baseline scenario. And in this way, this ensures that climate benefits are real, are also verifiable, and additional to what would happen in absence of the project. The second critical aspect is that projects seeking certification for financial or market-based products must meet two financial criteria mentioned here. The first one is the financial additionality. Saying this is in this way the demonstrating that the project would not have been financially available without the support derived from certification. And the second one is on the ongoing financial need. And in this way, the project makes sure that they're providing evidence that this ongoing certification and associated financial mechanism will sustain within the project lifetime. What you will find in this updated document is the sets of overarching requirements for the gold standard for the global goals methodologies. Also, it specifies clear provisions for demonstration of this additionality, and also, last but not least, introduces requirements for demonstrating ongoing financial needs, which ensures, of course, long-term project viability and transparency. Important to mention here at this stage is we're going to be hosting also trainings on OFN to address these issues and how to conduct the OFN. So we'll keep you posted on that, of course. And something to keep in mind, to ensure a smooth transition, the updated requirements will enter into force on the 1st of July 2025. And we will have the project transitions to the new methodologies, which are going to start on the 1st of January 2026 onwards. Next slide, please. And the next slide, of course, is on, this is my last slide on the alignment of Article 6. Gold Standard has updated its GHG emission reductions and sequestration product requirements to align to the requirements related to the Article 6 authorizations. And something very important to keep in mind is this Article 6 alignment timeline. So Q1, Q3 for 2025, we'll have the publication of updated requirements and methodology frameworks. Q3 onwards, we will have the publication of this revised, updated, and aligned to Article 6.4 methodologies. Q3 and Q4 for this year, we'll have also the stakeholder engagement and procedural alignment. And last but not least, as mentioned before, from 1st of January 2026 onwards, we will have the new methodologies that will come into effect and also start the project transition phase. Important to mention at this stage is that an essential element of this alignment is the role of our VVBs. So as part of the project audit processes, the VVBs will be responsible for checking the authorization documentation. And this step, of course, ensures that all projects meet the necessary requirements for participation under the Article 6 framework. That's all from my side in terms of alignment to Article 6. So back to you, Anna. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you all. Okay, so we have quite some time for questions. So please, I don't see any questions yet in the Q&A box, but if you don't want to type, please feel free to raise your hand and I'd be able to allow your microphone. Just if you have any questions about what we said, and yeah, Prakash, I am going to allow your microphone right now, so please feel free to unmute yourself.
Very good afternoon. Thank you.
Hi.
This question is basically to Natasha, because for CCP ICVCM requirement, the TPD detect methodologies versions mentioned was all 3 or 4 versions until version 4, right? And as of I remember that version 4 was only approved by the ICVCM. Could you kindly clarify?
I think you're referring to the CCP labeling.
Yes, please.
You want to bring up the slide, Anna, or Jacobo, do you want to take this?
Sure, if I'm not mistaken, and thanks for your question. Well, I guess Vikash is raising his hand.
Yeah, if I understood correctly, because you're talking about the previous version of TP-TAC, whether there is a formal approval from ICVCM or not. So just to update you, ICVCM 2 weeks back published a new decision which covers all the versions except the version 1. So now version 2, 3, 3.1 of TP-TAC are approved. There are some additional requirement that ICVCM put in to recognize or to label any of the credit issued to a project or program registered with the previous versions. That will be an additional check. We are going to publish a new version of our requirement. As you may already have noticed that TP-TAC previous versions were included with the placeholder. The decision is pending. So now the decision in place, we will be updating our requirement, publishing it in first week of July, so that VVBs can refer to these additional requirements when verifying the project with the credits issued with version 3 and 3.1 primarily. I don't think we have many projects with version 2 that will fall in this category. So primary focus would be for VVBs would be 3.1.
Thanks, Vikas. Fair enough. But what about version 4? Would there be any, those additional checks would also be performed and invariably applicable for version 4, or this is only for version 2 and 3.1?
For version 4, we have already published the requirement. The document that Natasha kind of highlighted has the requirement for version 4 as well. So version 4 is approved, but there are a few changes that ICVCM would like to see before the credits are issued the CCP label. The primary one is the fNRB updates. So even if your project is registered with version 4, it's unlikely that the developer has applied the latest fNRB values. So that change will be needed before the project can be labeled as CCP, and the credits can also be tagged as CCP credits.
Got it. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you so much for your question, Prakash, and thanks for the answers. Yes, Sudendra, 1 second. Please go ahead.
2 questions from my side. Hello?
Sorry?
2
We hear
questions
you,
from
yeah.
my side. One is on fNRB and another is on this CCP. fNRB is that LDC countries are excluded from this revision, or they have to follow the same rules. And CCP and ICVCM, is it mandatory or it is left to PD to opt for it? And what is the advantage of having that labeling?
I can take these questions. So for the first one, fNRB rule applies to all countries. There is no exemption for a specific geography. This was the case in past too, wherein CDM did have certain default fNRBs for LDCs, but now that list of default fNRB has been expanded to all the countries. The new version of Tool 33 is providing the fNRB values for all countries, and where all country is not included in the tool, then there is a provision in the Tool 33 that regional values can be applied. Same applies with gold standard rules as well. For our current proposal, like it has multiple options. The first option is MOFUS. In the MOFUS also there is no such exemption based on developing status of the country. On second question for CCP labeling, yes, it is not mandatory. It is up to the project developer. If they wish to get the CCP label credits, then they have to make the amendments in the project documentation, and VB has to verify as per the requirement that Kobo and Natasha explained. And Giovanna has also touched on some of those. Project developer make a decision to do that. even for fNRB updates, as if you look at the timeline, how maybe the timeline Natasha presented, there is still an option for the project developer whether they would like to apply any of these new fNRB values prior to the kind of like set date. So they could do that. So there is a lot with the project developer to make a decision. From gold standard side, there are two main sort of like restrictions. One is from 30th June 2025, which is this month. After this month, we will not accept any project submission applying the older fNRB values for design review. So for VVBs especially, this is a critical point. So like any new submission that is made after this date must have the fNRB value as per the latest rule update. Second one is the crediting period. The monitoring period, as Natasha explained, project developer may use fNRB, the current fNRB values for the period ending on 31st December 2025. So that submission can be made anytime, now or later, like even after 2025. So that is the date that we should consider when verification is going on. That monitoring period beyond 2025 or any vintage beyond 2025 must not be based on the existing fNRB values.
Okay, thanks. I got the answer. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any other question? I guess it was clear.
If there is no other question, there are two more points that I wanted to kind of flag. One is a correction, just to make sure that it is clear to everyone. That Article 6 requirements, as Giovanna explained, is now being introduced. Like it's the fundamental methodology requirement will come in force from 1st July 2025, which is next month. We will be publishing more documentation around Article 6 alignment, especially new methodologies and update to the existing methodologies. But the transition will start from 1st January 2026. If someone wants to do that before that, that's fine if the methodology is available. But the transition will start from 1st Jan to 2026. It's not to be completed by 2026, 1st January 2026. There will be more guidance for the project developer and also the VVBs, how to transition the current project, especially with respect to the methodology requirements, like the new methodology requirements. And then we will have more interactive sessions with the VVBs also. Our main objective there is to really avoid the duplication of work and redundancy and make a smoother transition so that the focus is more on the update only rather than the entire documentation. And we would like to hear feedback from VVBs as well, like what would work best in case we adopt different options. We will present that. So that's something which is coming forward in a few months. So we would like to flag it in advance. And second point is we are publishing few of the methodologies, Article 6 aligned methodologies in the first week of July for public consultation. That's is kind of setting the ground for future methodology as well. We would like to hear from the VVs also, if there are any specific section where we should provide more guidance to the VVs, how to validate and verify the project, considering like it's a change in entire sort of way how things were happening in past. This is a good opportunity for VVs also to provide feedback, since our ultimate objective here is to keep the overall processes efficient and more productive and avoid the redundancies.
Great, thank you, Vikash. Yeah, so feel free to reach out to Giovanna and I for any feedback or clarifications. Great. One last round. Anybody has more questions? Please free to raise your hands. Otherwise, we can move on to closing the session. No? Okay, great. I guess hopefully it was clear. But if there are any questions afterwards, please feel free to reach out again. So I'd like to take the last 5 minutes to just wrap up the session. First of all, a little recap, but we have been mentioning this as well now in the Q&A, so I'll go a little bit quick through this. Basically, because repetition is key, just to remember a few takeaways from each of the topics we've seen related to fNRB. Please remember that UNFCCC has now approved the default national and regional values of fNRB in Tool 33. And then the 3 key dates, the 13th of June 2025, that's when the CDM Tool 30 validity ends for new projects. 31st of December 2025 is when CDM Tool 30 validity ends for design certified projects. And then from the 1st of January 2026, that's when the new fNRB eligible methods will be applied. Moving on to the second topic that we presented, CCP labeling. A couple of things to remember. CCP labeling might involve or not design changes. Procedures are different depending on the needs of the project. And the scope of the document that Jacobo presented, the optional requirement document on the CCP labeling, covers GS verified credits issued or to be issued retroactively when updated to an ICVCM methodology. And last topic, just very briefly as well, that GS for the G aligns methodologies with the Paris Agreement, Article 6, through enhanced principle, baseline setting, additionality, and monitoring guidance. And as Giovanna mentioned, the new requirements for methodology development and additionality will take effect on July 1st, 2025. And projects will start transitioning from the 1st of January, 2025. So hopefully this is giving a little bit more clarity. You can find it back on the slide. So in case you would like to have a look again. As well, I'll be sharing for the people who missed it at the start, I'll be sharing the slides and the recording in the next couple of days via email. So there you can find all the links, everything that we have mentioned in the session. As usual, just as a reminder, we're here to support you. So if you have any questions, queries, requests, please reach out to us at vvb@goldstandard.org. And also, I would like to inform you that we are having the next session in July. That will be a GS quarterly update for the quarter 2. And it will happen, we will have 2 sessions to cover 2 time zones on the 22nd of July at 3 p.m. CET and on the 23rd of July at 9:30 CET. Again, like the previous one, this is a part of our mandatory trainings according to the VVB requirements 7.7.4. And if you're not subscribed yet to our newsletters, please do so, because that's where you can also receive information about our updates, but also events and trainings. And last, before you go, please take a few minutes to give us some feedback on this session. I'll be launching a poll now on the screen, but if you prefer to use QR code, you can also scan it with your phone. It's on the screen on the slide. So yeah, thank you all so much. I'll keep this session open for a few more minutes to give you the time to fill out the feedback form. But in the meanwhile, I'd like to thank you all for joining today and for staying with us until the end. And also a big thanks to our speakers and to our Vikash as well for answering some questions, and also to both of you for asking questions today. Great. Thank you so much, and I wish you a lovely day.
Thank you. Have a lovely day. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.